Chosen one, what if I told you they tried everything, spells, rituals, dark alliances, and still couldn't break you? You destroyed their dark army. Here's how you did it. You may have felt unseen as shadows crept around your dreams, sensing hostile forces gathering under cloaks of secrecy. They whispered curses in the dark, chanting for your downfall, confident that their numbers and rituals would overwhelm your spirit. But every morning you woke stronger, more centered, as though a hidden shield protected you from their schemes. You are not imagining this. These attacks were real, and your victory was written before they even began. Tonight, you will discover how your stillness shattered their spells, how solitude became your fortress, and how a single-aligned soul proved more powerful than their thousand-voice coven. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Remember this. They built their dark army to break you, but you became the weapon they never saw coming. You became the battlefield. You have felt it in the quiet moments, that shift in the air as dusk falls and the world grows still. You sense a pressure, an unseen force descending upon your mind and spirit, as though the darkness itself is searching for a foothold. They have chosen you as their battleground, convinced that casting spells upon your name and whispering malice will break you. You have lain awake, the weight of their intent pressing down like an unshakable cloud, your heart pounding in your chest as if in response to drums of war. In those moments of loneliness and fear, you might believe that the battlefield was theirs to claim, that your soul was unguarded. Yet you are not alone in this. Countless chosen ones have felt this same spiritual siege, knowing that what unfolds within you carries eternal significance. Understanding the importance of recognizing yourself as sacred ground is the key that will unlock a power they never anticipated. Intrigue stirs in your spirit when you realize that every assault is an opportunity for revelation and victory. And tonight, the veil lifts on how your very presence turned their dark designs into fetters of defeat. The struggle has been deeply personal, cutting into your core with every chant and curse thrown your way. You'll question why you, of all people, bore the brunt of their darkness, as though your faith or purpose made you an irresistible target. You replay moments in your mind, encounters with negativity that left your spirit bruised, unexplainable bouts of anxiety that seemed to materialize from nowhere, and conversations that ended with a lingering sense of dread. The confusion weighed heavily. Was this a test of endurance, or a sign that you had somehow failed to protect yourself? Each wave of spiritual attack felt like a challenge to your identity, threatening to blot out the clarity you once held. At times, you may have considered giving in to self-doubt, questioning whether your path was worth the anguish. Yet it is precisely this emotional weight, the sting of betrayal, the ache of isolation, the fear of unseen forces, that underscores the significance of your journey. You are not just enduring random suffering. You are preparing for a destiny that demands your soul be tempered in the crucible of spiritual warfare. Then came the turning point, a moment when desperation turned to clarity. Perhaps you stumbled upon a passage in the lesser-known book of Zephaniah, where it says, "Seek the Lord, all you humble the land, who do his just commands. Seek righteousness. Seek humility." Perhaps you may be hidden on the day of the Lord's anger, Zephaniah 2 verse 3. That phrase, "perhaps you may be hidden," unlocked a revelation. Your suffering was not banishment, but an invitation to discover a hidden refuge within your soul. Suddenly, the battlefield shifted. You saw that the assaults were not random strikes, but a divine choreography draw you into secret training. Each pressure point a lesson in faith, each whisper lie an opportunity to affirm your truth. Killing those shadows was never the goal. Learning to dwell unshaken at the center of the storm became your purpose. In that instant, you realized that your battlefield status was not a curse, but an honor. Honor to stand where darkness gathers and to embody the light that scatters it. As you embraced this truth, subtle signs of transformation began to ripple through your life like the first light of dawn breaking over a hidden valley. You noticed an inner stillness settling in your heart, even as the world around you continued its chaos. What once felt like crushing pressure now registered as a tension before a bowstring releases its arrow. You found yourself pausing mid-prayer to notice flashes of insight, images of protection, words of assurance, the memory of a scripture that spoke to your situation. Conversations that used to leave you drained now left you invigorated, as though your faith served as a shield absorbing the impact of every stray arrow. Opportunities emerge at the precise moment you needed them, as if the universe conspired to redirect the energy of conflict into channels of growth. Each small victory, your unbroken calm in the face of slander, your unwavering trust when the ground shook, became proof that the battlefield was indeed yours, but not to lose. You were standing on sanctified soil. Behind these visible shifts, a silent army of divine intervention marshaled forces to clear your path. Angels, those watchers described in the obscure passages of 1 Enoch, moved unseen to dismantle the very mechanisms the enemy employed. A conversation intercepted at the right moment diffused a brewing conflict. A glance at a street corner introduced you to someone who spoke a word exactly when you needed it. Even the timing of your daily routines, waking, working, resting, aligned in ways that seemed orchestrated by a higher hand. Spiritual alignment became tangible as every step in faith drew affirmations into your orbit. It became clear that your struggles were never mere endurance tests, but intentional preparations for elevation. Each attack that once threatened to bury you instead buried the seeds of your renewal, demonstrating that faith is not passive acceptance, but the active magnet that draws miracles into reality. At this crossroads, you sense the shift within you, but a part of you may still hesitate to fully embrace your new identity as both battlefield and victor. Many resist the final leap, fearful that fully claiming their power will invite fresh conflict or demand sacrifices they are not yet ready to pay. They cling to a fragment of who they were, uncertain whether the new self will hold up under the weight of expectation. Yet true alignment demands wholehearted acceptance, not partial endorsement. Consider the little-known promise in Judges 7 verse 2, where Gideon is told that the Lord uses the few to shame the many. The reduction of his troops was the point at which divine power became unmistakable. This, too, is your invitation. To stand in the full force of your calling, to embrace the discomfort of vulnerability, and to trust that your path leads upward, even if the ascent demands letting go of old fears. Now is the time to step into your role as both battlefield and conqueror, to release the doubt that whispers you are ill-equipped, and to claim the strength that has been forged in every trial. Affirm your identity in prayer. I am the ground where darkness unravels. I stand firm in divine light. Cultivate practices that reinforce this truth. Daily meditation on your victory, remembrance of every moment you withstood the storm, and fellowship with those who reflect your resilience. Engage in acts of service that channel the power you've gained into healing for others, extending the blessings of your trials into the world. Trust that every step of this journey, from the first assault to the latest triumph, is part of a grand design that uses your faith as both shield and sword. You are not just surviving spiritual warfare. You are mastering it. Carry this revelation into every sunrise. You are the battlefield where their magic unravels, and you are the victor who claims the ground. Comment battlefield if you recognize the sacred conflict you've endured. Let this declaration echo through your spirit. I stand unshaken at the center of every storm, for my soul is sanctified ground, and no darkness can overcome the light within me. Embrace your destiny. Your battlefield status is your triumphant identity, and your faith is the banner under which every enemy flees. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community, a private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. Your silence was divine protection. You've lain awake in the dead of night, mind racing with voices that aren't yours, shadows dancing across the walls like taunting specters. The weight of their chants and curses presses against your heart, as though each whisper is a physical blow aimed to fracture your resolve. You wonder if this bombardment will ever cease, if the darkness around you will swallow your hope. You're not alone in this turmoil. Many chosen ones have felt the relentless pull of unseen forces seeking to drown out their light. But there is something you must know. Your silence in the midst of chaos is not weakness. It is your most potent form of protection. Tonight, as we delve into the power of divine silence, you'll discover how stillness becomes a shield no spell can penetrate, and why your greatest defense lies in the quiet space between each breath. Imagine the exhaustion that follows when you spend hours navigating emotional torrents, dreams invaded by apparitions, waking moments punctuated by frantic anxiety, and waking phone calls at dawn that repeat the same menacing themes. You've tried every outlet, prayer, counseling, even distraction with work or social media, but the noise always returns, louder, more insistent. You felt the sting of isolation when friends can't fathom the inner turmoil you endure, leaving you questioning your own sanity. You've scrolled through forums late into the night, searching for someone who understands a peculiar attack on your spirit, yearning for a sign that you're not broken. That emotional weight is real and daunting. It threatens to unmoor you, to convince you that the world outside your window is conspiratorial and cruel. Yet within this struggle lies the seed of your greatest victory. Then came the moment when the clamor around you revealed its deeper purpose, divine preparation in disguise. You stumbled upon a verse in Zephaniah 1 verse 7 that spoke directly to your anguish. The Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. It wasn't familiar stories of David and Goliath or Daniel in the lion's den. This was an obscure prophecy, overlooked by many, yet alive with promise. You realized that every chant hurled against you was an invitation to discover the secret fortress of your soul, a sacred sanctuary where divine protection reigns. In that instant, the night's cacophony lost its terror. You understood that silence wasn't merely absence of sound. It was an act of alignment with a power far greater than any dark force. Your stillness became a signal flare, calling heaven's refuge down to surround you like a fortress of light. As you embraced this new perspective, the first signs of transformation began to ripple through your life in subtle yet undeniable ways. You noticed how your breath grew steady, even when anxiety threatened to spike. You caught glimpses of serene awareness in your mind's eye, a calm pool reflecting the stars, undisturbed by every whisper wind. External circumstances that once spurred panic now triggered only a brief flicker of recognition before dissolving into peace. You found yourself making decisions from a place of clarity rather than fear, turning off notifications that fueled your unease, creating boundaries that protected your energy, and choosing moments of intentional solitude over frantic distraction. These shifts were like the first shoots of spring breaking through frozen soil, heralding a season of inner renewal that no amount of noise could silence. Behind these changes, if you look closely, you would see the hand of divine alignment at work. Synchronicities began to appear, an unexpected message from a mentor who spoke directly to your need for stillness, a passage in an obscure devotional that mapped out the stages of spiritual protection, even a mourning dove perched outside your window, the ancient symbol of peace, arriving at the precise moment your heart felt most besieged. These events felt too precise to be mere coincidence. They were the unseen angels patrolling the walls of your fortress, reinforcing the quiet sanctuary within. You began to realize that your struggles were not tests of endurance, but setups for elevation. With every attempt to unsettle you, the divine forces rearrange your surroundings to deepen your refuge, proving that faith is not a passive hope, but the magnet that draws miracles into your reality. Yet at this threshold of transformation, a quiet hesitation may linger in your soul. It is natural to resist fully embracing a silence that feels uncharted and vulnerable. Many shrink from true alignment because they fear that letting go of noise also means letting go of control. They cling to past solutions, constant chatter, compulsive work, or superficial comfort to avoid the unknown terrain of inner stillness. But authentic power emerges only when you cross into that sacred quiet. Consider the little-known story in Habakkuk 3 verse 19, where it speaks of waiting quietly for the salvation of the Lord. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He causes me to stand on the heights. Waiting here is not passive. It is a poised readiness, a sacred alertness that demands presence and trust. This is your sacred moment to choose whether you will retreat into familiar distractions or step boldly into the sanctuary prepared for you. Now that you see the signs of transformation and understand the divine choreography unfolding around you, it is time to step into your newfound reality. Release the fear that whispers you must fill every silence with noise or lose yourself to panic. Let go of the doubt that tells you stillness leaves you vulnerable to fresh attacks. Instead, anchor yourself in practices that reinforce your sacred sanctuary. Establish daily periods of quiet reflection, guard your mental space through mindful breathing, and immerse yourself in scripture or poetry that honors the power of silence. Surround yourself with fellow seekers who respect the sanctity of stillness, and share your journey to illuminate the path for others. Trust that every moment of calm you claim fortifies your aura against the darkest assaults and invites the fullness of divine refuge to abide. Remember this truth as you walk forward. Your silence is not emptiness. It is the echo of divine protection reverberating through your spirit. Comment silence if you've tasted the power of stillness under attack and know its shelter. Let this declaration resound in your heart. I am quiet, yet unshakable. In my stillness, I stand guarded by a fortress of peace that no dark force can penetrate. Embrace this moment. For in the sanctity of your silence, you discover the unwavering refuge that transforms every battlefield into holy ground. And to every soul who supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters. Your belief matters. And your light is felt here. You didn't use magic, you became magic. You have watched from the sidelines as they gather their tools of power, ritual circles, whispered incantations, carefully drawn symbols, and wondered if you needed the same. You felt the heat of their focus, their belief that magic lay in the trappings of ritual rather than within the purity of your heart. Each time they raise their voices in unison, you sense a moment of vulnerability, a fleeting question. Do I need to fight back with equal theatrics? Yet here you are, breathing deeply in the quiet after the storm, knowing that your strength did not come from their borrowed instruments, but from the transformation working unseen inside you. You are not alone in this realization. Many chosen ones have discovered that true power is not conjured but embodied, a living force that transcends every spell cast against it. In the coming moments, you will see how your wounds became windows of wisdom, your scars symbols of strength, and how you, without wands or words, became magic itself. The struggle to embrace your own inherent power has been deeply personal and, at times, lonely. There were moments when you tried to learn the ways of their covens, reading ancient texts late into the night, sketching symbols you barely understood, repeating arcane phrases you hoped would unlock protection. Yet no matter how hard you tried, a sense of dissonance nagged at your soul, as if you were forcing yourself into a shape that never fit. The emotional toll weighed heavily. The frustration of mispronounced chants, the shame of failed circles, the sting of feeling left out by those who claimed to hold the secrets. Each time you turned back to your mirror, all you saw was the desperate face of someone who still felt powerless. You questioned your path. If magic was real, why did it elude you? If you were chosen, why did every attempt to wield power feel like grasping smoke? In that search, you were blind to the transformation blossoming within, one that no external rite could summon. Then came the moment of revelation, a quiet awakening that changed everything. Faced with another failed attempt to echo their rituals, you closed your eyes and felt instead the gentle pulse of your own heartbeat. A phrase from the hidden scrolls of Cirque 39:32 came to mind. By patience a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft tongue will break a bone. You realize that every moment of patience, every soft word spoken in faith, carried more power than any shouted incantation. In that instant, you understood that you had been practicing divine magic all along. Through endurance of pain, through kindness and adversity, through unwavering trust in a purpose greater than any spell. Your struggles, once seen as flaws, reveal themselves as a very crucible forging your authenticity. The stage was no longer theirs, it was yours, and the transformation working in you was authority they could never grasp. As you embraced this truth, the signs of transformation began to surface in your daily life, tangible and profound. You found that simple words carried weight. Encouragement offered to a friend in need reached further than any ritual circle. A calm presence in a tense room diffused conflict more effectively than dramatic gestures or forceful commands. You noticed that your empathy, hardened into wisdom by your own suffering, had become a channel of healing where dark energies fell silent. Even your smile, gentle and knowing, disarmed hostility and open hearts. Tasks that once felt daunting, calling out injustice, holding firm to your convictions, now felt like extensions of your natural rhythm. You moved through life as a living spell, each breath weaving threads of light that bound darkness into submission. In these moments, You recognized that divine timing had aligned your inner growth with the world's readiness to receive it. Behind these visible shifts, unseen forces were at work, aligning circumstances to reflect your newfound magic. Synchronistic encounters offered guidance at the precise moment you needed direction. An unplanned conversation with a stranger revealed a metaphor that unlocked a piece of your own story. Doors opened late at night to spaces where your presence was welcomed, orchestrated by angels in corridors you could not see. Even the rhythms of nature, sunrises that seemed to greet your prayers, storms that provided dramatic backdrops to crucial moments of decision, felt like signposts marking your ascent. These interventions proved that your journey was not about mastering external rituals, but about stepping into a divine flow that moved through you. Faith ceased to be a concept and became a living current, carrying you forward into territories where nothing but the truth of your being could prevail. Now, as you stand on the threshold of full embodiment, you may feel a flicker of hesitation. The unknown can feel vast compared to the familiar scripts of ritual you once clung to. Yet the path of true magic demands more than observation. It calls for daring action. Many resist this final leap, fearing that relinquishing old structures leaves them vulnerable to new perils. They cling to the illusion of control that external rites provide, even when those rites fail them. But true alignment, the kind that transforms you into a living talisman, demands wholehearted surrender. Consider the obscure promise in Zephaniah 3 verse 17. He will rejoice over you with singing. Magic that echoes the Creator's own song requires participation, not imitation. This is your sacred moment, to release the scripts of others and author the living story written in your soul. With that realization, it is time to claim your place as a living embodiment of divine magic. Release the doubt that tells you rituals are the only path to power. Let go of the anxiety that your transformation is incomplete without spells. Speak your truth with quiet confidence. I am patience. I am presence. I am power. Cultivate practices that anchor this new reality. Meditation that connects you to your heartbeat, affirmations that honor your growth, and acts of service that channel your magic into healing the world around you. Surround yourself with those who witness your journey, celebrate your authenticity, and challenge you to reach greater depths. Trust that every step taken in faith deepens a reservoir of your inner magic, and that this alchemy transforms not only you, but all who cross your path. Carry this revelation into every moment. You didn't need their spells. You became the magic. Comment magic if you felt the power of your own transformation. Let this declaration resonate in your spirit. I am the living talisman of divine presence. My wounds are windows of wisdom, and my peace dismantles every dark design. Stand tall, for your journey is not merely survival. It is a prophecy of soul awakened to its own miraculous essence. No coven can stand against a heart that has become the embodiment of sacred magic. You fought alone and still won. You know the dread that settles in your chest when you hear the buzz of their alliances forming behind closed doors. Their covens, their groups huddling in the shadows, weaving plans to fracture your spirit. You feel the pull of isolation, the weight of their combined voices echoing in your mind, and you wonder if one lone soul can stand against their united force. Yet here you are, breathing deeply in the quiet, recognizing that the very unity they relied upon became their greatest weakness. You are not alone in this realization. Many chosen ones have faced the same daunting question. Can I stand alone and still walk in victory? Tonight, you will discover why solitude was never your prison, but your proving ground, how your singular light outshone their collective darkness, and why your faith alone was enough to dismantle an army of shadows. In those dark nights, you may have paced your living room, replaying every whisper you caught, every disguised threat you sensed. You questioned your strength as the volume of their unified doubts seemed crescendo around you. You remember glancing at your reflection and seeing someone haunted by the possibility of failing alone, of stumbling without a hand to catch you. You tried forming alliances of your own, reaching out for a steadying word or a shared prayer, only to find that even the best intentions fade in the face of coordinated attacks. Feelings of rejection burned like acid, each attempt at connection backfiring into another layer of doubt. You wrestled with the sense that you would need more than faith, more than prayer, more than resilience to withstand their orchestrated onslaught. The emotional toll was immense. Isolation felt like a sentence carved in stone, and you wondered if you would ever find a way out of its echoing corridors. Carry this revelation into every shadow you face. You fought alone and you still won. Their covens disbanded before the clarity of your solitary resolve, because yours was the single heartbeat that resonated with divine will. Comment alone if you know the power of standing firm in solitude. Let this be your declaration. I walk in the strength of my solitary faith, and in my aloneness, I am unshakable. Stand tall, for no alliance built on fear can withstand the force of one's spirit aligned with the eternal. You dismantle their power supply. You felt it when the weight of the world seems to press against your chest, as if every shadowed corner of your life has become a conduit for their malice. Their dark energy thrived on your fear, your doubt, your reaction. Each beat of your heart a fuel cell for their schemes. You've tossed and turned in bed, wrestling with the echoes of every whispered insult, replaying the worst-case scenarios in your mind until the dawn sun felt like a distant promise. In those moments, despair threatens to flood your spirit, and you question whether you have the strength to stand against unseen currents that pull you toward isolation, confusion, and self-recrimination. Yet know this, you're not alone in the struggle. Many chosen ones have discovered that the power they feared would break them was, in truth, the very lever that set them free. Understanding how you dismantle their power supply is crucial. It is the key to breaking every chain they forge in your soul and stepping into the light of your own divine authority. The emotional toll of watching their influence rise with every shake of your confidence can feel unbearable. You remember the exact moment you realized your energy was being siphoned, when a fleeting thought spiraled into a week of anxiety, or when a casual comment from a stranger echoed through your mind for days. You may have tried every coping mechanism you knew, journaling, meditation, even midday affirmations, only to find a phantom drain returned as soon as you relax your guard. The worst part is that it feels invisible, a parasite that feeds on your spirit, leaving you drained and desperate for relief. In those darkest hours, you question whether your faith can withstand such assault, or if you'll be condemned to a life of constant defense, never knowing peace. But it is precisely this confrontation that forges the path to your liberation. Then came the turning point, a moment when a simple act of self-love became the crowbar that pried their claws from your soul. You reached a depth of exhaustion where gimmicks and quick fixes held no sway. In that surrender, you discovered a prayer from the apocryphal book of Tobit, where purity of heart binds demons. When many live in truth, their strength is great. Tobit 13:16 paraphrase. You realized that you didn't need to battle them with spells or recitations, but with the simple, revolutionary act of aligning with your own truth. Every conscious affirmation of your worth, every moment you chose compassion over self-criticism, was a prayer that bound their schemes. In that instant, the parasitic cords they had wrapped around your spirit began to snap, and you sensed the first breath of freedom after a long captivity. As you embraced this truth, visible signs of transformation unfurled in your life, like sunrise over a storm-tossed sea. You noticed how your mornings felt calmer, less haunted by the residue of fear from the previous night. Your interactions changed. The casual jibe that once hollowed you out now bounced off your newfound resilience, leaving no mark. You no longer flinch at unexpected emails or messages, because you recognize that their power to frighten you depended on your fear. Without it, they lost their leverage. Opportunities you once missed now emerge with surprising clarity. Conversations that had been cut short reopened with warm honesty. Doors you thought closed creaked open, and every step you took felt guided rather than guarded. You began to move through the world as though wrapped in an aura of impervious peace. Behind these shifts, unseen currents of divine intervention quietly redefined your trajectory. Angels aligned circumstances to support your breakthrough. A mentor reached out with bold encouragement at the precise moment you contemplated giving up. A friend shared a resource that spoke to your heart just when you needed it most. And a book slipped into your hands that outlined the principles of spiritual boundary setting. Even the rhythms of your daily schedule changed, carving out spaces for rest and reflection that became crucibles of healing. You were more powerful than 1,000 chanting in the dark. You proved that one soul in divine alignment can shatter entire covens of witchcraft and manipulation. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment, "I am chosen," to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. thank you to all supporting members. Your faith fuels this mission. 4 full prophetic revelations daily. Join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every Super Thanks fuels the light we're spreading together.